You might have noticed a strange, frustrating contrast in the way you work compared to the people around you. There are days when you are genuinely impressive. You catch the tiny inconsistencies in a report that everyone else missed. You can read between the lines in a meeting and understand what is actually being said. You spot a risk weeks before it becomes a crisis. But then, there are the other days. You are doing the same job with the same brain, but the day hits you like an information storm. A ping on Slack, a quick question from a colleague, a Zoom or Teams meeting that runs 10 minutes over, a detail in the data that doesn't quite add up. None of these things are huge on their own, but your nervous system doesn't file them away as background noise. It keeps registering them. It keeps processing them. By midday, your attention feels scattered and you are running on fumes. Meanwhile, your coworkers seem basically untouched. They don't even notice half the signals you are tracking. And when they can breeze past the chaos, but you can't, it starts to feel unfair. It starts to feel personal. You start asking, am I too fragile? Am I just not built for the workplace? Why am I like this? If this sounds familiar, you likely belong to the 20% of the population with a trait called sensory processing sensitivity, also known as a highly sensitive person, or HSP. If you are new to this concept, I have a full breakdown video explaining the HSP traits, which I have linked in the corner and description. But the short version is this. Most people are like dandelions. They are resilient. They can grow anywhere, whether it is a crack in the sidewalk or a well-tended garden. They are fine regardless of the environment because their system filters out most of the noise. But you are more like an orchid. You have a biological trait that makes you process the world more deeply. In the wrong environment, like a harsh, noisy office with constant interruptions, you wither. But in the right environment, a greenhouse, your deep processing becomes a massive advantage. Research suggests that in supportive environments, HSPs often show above average creativity and accuracy. You don't just suffer more in bad soil, you actually benefit more from good soil. This is the biological reality of vantage sensitivity. And some of you might be thinking, this sounds a lot like ADHD. That is a fair question. There is a massive overlap in the real-life experience around attention and stimulation. This isn't a diagnosis, but if you relate to those patterns, the framework I am about to share will be applicable for you too. But before we talk about solutions, it helps to understand what is actually happening inside your biology. Dr. Elaine Aron's DOES model gives us 4 specific reasons why work hits you harder, so you can stop guessing and start adjusting the right settings. D is for depth of processing. You don't just skim reality. You run consequences, you spot hidden patterns, and you connect current data to past experiences. This is your greatest professional advantage, but it comes with a cost. When a workplace demands speed without clarity, your deep processing brain jams. It is like trying to run high-end video editing software on a computer that has too many tabs open. O is for overstimulation. This is the big one. Think about the modern open-plan office. To a dandelion, it is a collaborative space. To you, it is acoustic overload. You are filtering and suppressing the background noise all day long, and that costs real biological energy. This is why you are exhausted by 2 p.m., even if you haven't done any heavy physical labor. E is for emotional reactivity. You care deeply. You pick up on tone shifts. You notice micro tension in a meeting. You don't just hear conflict, you feel it in your body. That can make you an exceptional teammate, mediator, or leader. But in high emotional labor roles, like handling complaints or constant customer escalation, you can get emptied out even when you did everything right. S is for sensory sensitivity. Things other people brush off can genuinely change your capacity. Bright fluorescent lights, a buzzing air conditioner, strong perfume, a keyboard storm around you. This isn't being dramatic, it is signal strength. You notice the details others miss. This is a superpower, but in a chaotic environment, it is a curse because you can never turn it off. So, when you combine high depth of processing with constant overstimulation and emotional labor, burnout stops being a surprise. It becomes a highly likely outcome. So does this mean you have to change your job title? I don't really recommend those lists like top 10 jobs for HSPs. They often just make people more confused. The truth is, the same job title can feel completely different across teams and cultures. So we care less about the title and more about the ecosystem you are stepping into. Let's look at a few common archetypes to see if you recognize your pattern. Take the software engineer or data analyst role. On paper, this looks perfect for an HSP because it rewards depth, detail, and logic. But if the ecosystem is built on constant Slack pings, back-to-back stand-ups, and a move fast and break things culture, you will burn out. If you feel unstable here, it is often the environment forcing your brain to toggle between deep work and high-frequency interruption all day. That is bad soil for an orchid. Now compare that with a creative role: design, writing, marketing. This suits you because you notice nuance and emotion. But the pain point is usually the brainstorming culture. Loud meetings, sharp feedback, and chaotic deadlines. A small shift in the ecosystem, like getting the brief a day early so you can process it alone, can stabilize your output in a way that surprises people. Or take service and care work, therapy, nursing, customer success. These roles offer high nutrients because they have meaning and purpose. But they come with high heat, which is the emotional labor. What determines if you survive isn't how kind you are. It is whether the system allows for decompression. Is there a buffer after a heavy client? Is there support, or are you expected to be a machine? And how about being a manager? Management is complicated. Many HSPs avoid it because the social density and conflict load is high. But HSPs can also be excellent coach-style leaders. The deciding factor is whether you can structure the work. Written updates, clear agendas, fewer real-time interruptions, and a predictable cadence. Different roles, same pattern. Your performance doesn't just depend on the work. It depends on how much noise, interruption, emotional heat, and unpredictability the ecosystem adds on top. You can pursue an industry you love, but as an HSP, you need a clear read on whether the ecosystem fits you. If you can find soil that truly fits you, that is the best case scenario. But if you are currently in bad soil because you need the paycheck, the visa, or the resume, you can't just swap jobs tomorrow. And that is valid. So instead of trying to change your personality, we work on what you can change. There is a strategy called job crafting. Think of it as becoming a gardener. You are proactively adjusting the parameters of your greenhouse. Start with the light. If you are in an open office, you are working in high glare conditions. Noise-canceling headphones are non-negotiable. They are personal protective equipment. If the lights are harsh, ask to turn them off overhead or bring a warm desk lamp. And don't underestimate visual exposure. If your desk feels like a fishbowl where people are constantly passing behind you, your system stays on alert. Even facing a wall instead of a hallway helps. Find a restorative niche. Find a physical place. A quiet car, a stairwell, an empty conference room, where you can retreat for 10 minutes every couple of hours. This isn't hiding. It is necessary maintenance. You are letting your nervous system idle so you can keep going. Next is the water. HSPs aren't destroyed by busy. They are destroyed by fragmented. You need continuity. One thing that changes everything is deciding when you are available for input. A simple boundary that often works is making your interruption time explicit. Not as "don't bother me," but as "this improves output quality." I have noticed I produce my best work when I have a protected block. I am going to set 9:30 to 11:30 as focus time, and I will batch messages at 11:30. If something is urgent, call me. That language tends to land because it is not asking for special treatment. It is describing how you create reliable outcomes. It also makes delivery more predictable for the team. Meetings matter here too. A lot of HSP burnout isn't from the work. It is from the way work is coordinated. Push for basic meeting hygiene. An agenda, a clear decision the meeting is for, and a little buffer between calls. Even a 5-minute break makes a difference. Then you prune the branches. HSPs often fall into the trap of over-responsibility. You see a problem, so you fix it. But in a low-resource environment, this generosity drains you. Your boundaries need to sound like risk management, not rejection. Say, I am focused on project A and B. If we add C, I can do it. But we need to decide what slows down, otherwise the quality will drop. That is professional bandwidth management. And job crafting isn't only about tasks. It is also about relationships. If you can build one safe channel at work, one manager, one lead, or one teammate who gets how you operate. Not to vent, but to keep reality clear. When you have even one steady point of support, the whole environment stops feeling as chaotic. Finally, you need a recovery ritual. If you are spending 8 hours in a harsh climate, your recovery cannot be whatever happens after work. It has to be built in. Start earlier than the end of the day. Don't try to white knuckle through, then collapse at night. Instead, take tiny resets while you are still at work, especially after meetings or emotionally loaded interactions. A few minutes where you step away, breathe, get water, and let your body drop out of alert mode. It sounds small, but it changes the trajectory. Then you do the third space transition. This is crucial, especially for parents or people with demanding home lives. Before you switch from employee to parent or partner, you need a buffer. Spend 10 minutes in your car, or walk around the block, or even just change your clothes the moment you walk in the door. Use that physical action to offload the cognitive weight of the day. You are telling your brain, the work cycle is closed. This is a lot of information, and if you're feeling a little overwhelmed right now, that makes sense. But you don't need a 10-year career plan tonight. You need one small change that makes tomorrow easier. Pick one adjustment, just one, and run it as a 2-week experiment. Before you start, write down what you expect might change. More focus, less dread, faster recovery, then treat it like a real test. The result might surprise you. And if it makes no difference, that is still useful data. Swap the tactic, run a new experiment. The more data you collect on your own nervous system, the closer you get to building a greenhouse that actually fits you. And I want to end on something you may need to hear. You feel tired because you really are processing more. You crash faster because your threshold gets pushed sooner. And the days you shine aren't just luck. They are what happens when the environment finally matches your sensitivity. Your job isn't to become the kind of person who can tolerate any climate. Your job is to become your own gardener. So start where you are, notice the soil, make one adjustment that turns the volume down, keep what helps, drop what doesn't. That is how you build your greenhouse. I know there are likely many complex, tricky situations that I could not fully cover in this short video. So if you have a specific struggle or scenario that is typical, please share it in the comments so we can discuss it as a community. If you're dealing with difficult people at work, watch my guide on handling high conflict dynamics. And if you want to understand the biology of your high-resolution brain, check out the HSP deep dive. As usual, I have created a free PDF guide summarizing these protocols, so you don't have to take notes. You can download it using the link in the description. Thanks for watching. I hope this gave you something useful you can actually try. I will see you in the next one.